The first one being that in the future, three-letter degrees, where the idea that you graduate when you're just over 20, and then you use that education for the rest of your life, it's going to go away. We're going to have to upskill, reskill, completely retrain several times throughout our careers, change directions, change jobs. I'm educated as a physician. I work as something completely different. I may only do one or two of those pivots. In the future, our children will probably do several. The other problem that is a landmark observation or a landmark trend is it's critically important that we believe that multiple billion people will have to change jobs compared to what they're doing today. McKinsey estimated a few years ago that 1 billion jobs would be affected by the fourth industrial revolution, robotics, AI, automation. But there is an equally big problem, which is climate refugees, which amounts, if we look at the perspective we often do in education in 40 years, is an equally big problem, which is climate refugees. The last 8 years, the average has been 26 to 28 million per year. And if you multiply that by 40, you're well over 1 billion. It's a massive problem, and they're not overlapping those two. So we're looking at having to figure out what do we do with about 2 billion people in the future. We have to find a radically different approach to education. The biggest problem in solving that is that knowledge has been a completely absorbing and dominating factor in our educational system. You could think about it, or I sometimes describe it as if you have over-increased intracranial cognitive pressure, there's no room for anything else than just knowledge. That's the case if you ask a lot of kids going through college. There's very little room for any kind of creativity or collaboration or critical thinking because they're just focusing on how do they get as much stored on their mental hard drive as possible. If you ask physicians, they're constantly in overload. They know that they needed to learn more than they really do. And it's actually a quite pervasive problem that we constantly feel like we're lagging behind in terms of knowledge. If we are to get to any of these other things, we either have to cut back on knowledge or we have to find a more intelligent way to get to knowledge acquisition. Cutting back doesn't work. In the 70s, when I grew up in the Nordic countries, we thought that we could do radical surgery on the curriculum. Take a knife and slash some of it. My parents were school teachers, and their colleagues, it was banned to teach multiplication tables. You were not allowed to teach vocabulary. There are so many things you're not allowed to do because the idea in our country was that kids would learn as long as you just put them outside under an apple tree, gave them some rubber boots and an acoustic guitar, and everything would be fine. The problem is, they never went into that classroom. All the people who believed in this in the 70s are today professors of pedagogy and andragogy and are saying, we need to find a better solution. We need to find a middle ground somewhere. Combined with our research the last 15 years, which is when we try to teach people applied knowledge, whether it's medical doctors in simulators or it's college students solving complicated problems in the laboratory, what we can see is that they profoundly still need knowledge. So how does that now correspond with our need to wanting to get further into other dimensions of learning? Come back to that. But the first problem that we embarked on 15 years ago was there a way that we can condense the amount of time it takes to get to knowledge proficiency so that we could free up cognitive space to be able to address some of these other problems in learning and other needs in learning?